Good time.
Hello there. Welcome. My name is Murray. I'm with my co-host Corey, and we are the Real Guys. And this is Siren Radio, and this is the Real Show with 2 E's. The music you just heard was Johnny B. Good, the 1958 rock and roll classic from the 1985 film Back to the Future. So we've got a packed show for you today, and I'm with my co-host Corey, as always. How are you doing today, Corey?
Very well, thank you.
Good. But today is a special occasion for the 6th episode of The Real Show. Today, we are coming to you with a very special guest. It breaks the history of the show, as today we have our first guest. We're very proud to welcome renowned cinematographer, producer, director of photography, director, and more, and one of the lecturers at the University of Lincoln. We are very proud and immensely pleasured to bring you, and very pleased to bring you, Mr. Jack Shelbourn.
Hi guys.
Welcome.
What a wonderful introduction. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I felt like I was introducing you at WrestleMania or something.
Yeah, I felt like there should be a big screen behind me, fanfare.
Yeah.
At least fake crowd noises.
Yeah.
Explosions.
A bit of pyro in there.
Yeah, exactly.
It's good to have you. It's good to have you on.
Thank you very much for having me, guys. I didn't realise I was the first guest. I'm very honoured.
Oh, thank you. We're honoured to have you. You're our first guest as well, so this is a new experience for both of us, I think, for all of us.
Fantastic. Well, it's wonderful to be back on Siren FM as well. It's been a while since I've been on. It's nice to do it in this new format across where we're not in the studio, although it's a shame not to be in the studio. Yeah. But it's nice to hear your voices, and delighted to be here. And
thank you.
Interesting introduction. I think mainly the cinematographer, director of photography. My producing and directing is very loose. Tried director, not too sure on it. Producer, mainly in name only. Though I've done a few bits of good producing. So thank you very much.
You're welcome. Well, me and Corey are very proud to have you and host you on the show for today. We've got a nice interview lined up for the people, so it'll be good to chat about a couple of things, talk about your recent projects or your latest projects or whatever you've got going, and just how you've been keeping up during these times. So it's really nice to have you. But obviously, some of your credits are for cinematography, and you're an amazing cinematographer. I've watched some of your work; it's really good stuff. So I was just wondering, how did you first get into cinematography? What was your first experience? When did you decide to pick up that camera and start filming?
Well, the decision to pick up a camera was really, really young. I was lucky enough to have access to a camera as a kid, and it was encouraged by my parents. And me and my brother and my cousins used to make our own films, just silly things, mainly copying films that we liked, or recreating computer games as a film. Every summer we made some new version of Metal Gear Solid as a film, where we went round a different direction in the garden and we all played many different parts and stuff.
Oh, dear.
And so I'm not too sure why, but I seem to be the one who always had the camera. And I think that's the roots of a lot of stuff. Me and my brother used to make little animations, and my brother really got into that, and he's now an animator, and I really enjoyed the camera side, and I now shoot films, and it kind of originated there. Building upon that, so I've been making films in some kind of way for years. I then got into editing when I discovered that my computer had something called Windows Movie Maker on it. Could edit films together. And then I went to university to study media production. And that's where it kind of, the passion for filmmaking kind of really grew there. But I really, really, really liked visual effects. I really liked making 3D models of things, filming stuff and adding in visual effects. I love sci-fi, so that was a real driving force of that. And my coursework in my undergraduate was kind of very focused on visual effects, doing lots of Photoshop stuff, lots of manipulation digitally. And then I went on to do a master's degree where I got more training on lighting and camera work, and that was studying the Masters in Media Production, as it was called many years ago, and that's at the University of Lincoln, where I am lecturing now. And during that, I met on the course a director who was doing the course part-time, so he finished the year after me. First of all, my final project, I made a 30-minute sci-fi film, almost all shot in front of blue screen, and it was 5 days on set and location filming, and I preferred that a heck of a lot more to the 3 months sat in front of my computer doing all the visual effects, which was a massive undertaking, and the film didn't actually get finished. Really, what I submitted wasn't a finished film at all. I was far too ambitious, and I quickly learned why the credits keep on going and going and going and going on major sci-fi films and big blockbusters. So there, I was really getting into lighting in 3D and learning a lot of that, and I'd been talking about that. And a few months later, after I'd graduated, I was working doing some corporate video and such. And the director got in contact, who I met on the Masters, Cal, who basically hired me to shoot his final project for the Masters as a cinematographer. And I, madly at the time, wasn't massively aware it's kind of a role, which feels so strange now, but I had really not explored the roles beyond that of VFX and understanding there was a director. And so I agreed. I thought it'd be interesting to do. He really thought, after our conversations, he thought it was a really good role for me to do. And so I then went and did a short course at the London Film Academy on cinematography. It's a weekend thing. And I loved it. I thought it was really fantastic. I realized all the stuff I'd been doing on photography, all this different stuff I'd been doing in visual effects translated directly. And so I learned lots on the course, but I also learned, which is equally as important when you do things. Sometimes I did know things already, and I knew some A and I knew C, and then I suddenly at this course realized B, joined them together, if you know what I mean. So I connect the dots that I'd previously made elsewhere. And on the film, I remember a moment when I was excited and I dragged Cal, the director Cal Johnson, over, and I was like, look at this image, I'm really excited about the lighting, and look at the way this. And he's like, oh no, that's great. And he walked back away, and he continued talking with the actors about their performance. And I suddenly had like the Eureka moment where I realized I'm not to be a director, because I really cared about the image. I cared about like the technology, the toys, the equipment. I loved the artistry. But what I wasn't really into was the finesse, finer details of acting and performance. And I realized, and it clicked about how rubbish I'd been as a director to all those actors that I'd directed in years before. And I suddenly realized the relationship of a director with their cinematographer. That Cal got me there because he knew that I was going to create. He trusted me to create the image that I did, and I suddenly realized that's why I was there. And I really enjoyed that. And I also think I've always been someone who prefers to start from an already established position when creating. And so what I mean by that is I've not always been the biggest fan of a blank piece of paper, create. Give me page 1 and I'll be able to come up with what page 2 does. And so when a director and producer comes with a film idea and with a screenplay, I'm then all about generating ideas from that. And so that really suits the role of the cinematographer. So in a short answer, that's kind of how it began. I've always been filming to an extent as long as I can remember, and then it was 6 months after I finished my master's degree. I had been genuinely looking into how to move over to America, because I dreamed to go into San Francisco to work for Industrial Lights and Magic, ILM. That during that kind of process, I was kind of umming and ahhing, and should I go and do further education, even more so at various places to learn more visual effects. And then I found myself on a film set and realized shooting with the camera is what I wanted to do.
That's
and
great.
that was a film called Cottonmouth, which is one of the first films I ever shot back in 2010. I shot 2011, 2010. I shot that. So not. I mean, actually, that's only 10 years ago, but to me, it does feel like a lifetime.
It does. It does. Sometimes when I even think that, God, I was 10 years ago, and I think, oh my God, it's like a world, an absolute world away. But still, thinking about that and thinking, you mentioned ILM there. They do great stuff, by the way. They really do. But in terms of cinematography, when you were talking about seeing that first shot and seeing the lighting and seeing the thing, I was sat here smiling because I was thinking, God, I've had that moment as well. You know, we've all had that moment as filmmakers where you see it on the screen, and you see it coming together, and you have this big smile on the face. You think, wow, this is real. Everything's really fit together now. Everything's coming together, and God, I love it. I just love to see it. It's amazing.
That's good. That's good. It's my favourite bits. I also, it's that, and also when that feeling when something kind of magical and unexpected happens. I always love it when all of a sudden, out of nowhere, an actor just falls on a certain position that you didn't expect. The light hits in a certain way, and everything just comes together, and you can really feel it on a film set. Those are my favourite moments. I think that's why I gravitated towards it as well. Not that you don't have a kind of companionship and work in teams in visual effects, you do, but in the end, you do kind of solo down to you and your computer. Whereas on a film set, even when the camera's on my shoulder, I have a focus puller near me, the camera assistant's near me, I'm on a radio to my lighting team, to my grip team if I have it, if it's on my shoulder, not necessarily, and then there's a feeling of everyone working with a makeup artist, working with a production designer, working with costume, when it all comes together and everything looks great and the director is genuinely happy, not just happy because they've been told we've got to move on, but when they're genuinely happy. I love that feeling.
Oh, it's wonderful. Yeah, that's really great. Actually, that's amazing. It's so cool to know that where all this comes from in all of us. It's so great to know that this comes from like a place in your heart, a place in your past. It's really interesting. I'll give
stuff like that is a very good feeling, especially when you're talking about cinematography and stuff. Another good feeling, at least for me anyway, when I've been on set, is when you get a break and you can have food. And snacks are a very, very interesting thing. And I've asked every single person I've met, and it's always different. But when you're on set, what's your go-to snack of choice?
Oh God, Corey.
I know, but I could genuinely have you been speaking to some of the people I work with? Have you been speaking to some of the producers? Because I've been notorious with some of my absurd requests in the past, thinking I once got very ridiculed for demanding to make sure that there are easy peel oranges on set, and I thought I was being really clever and nice because I was like, well, we need good sugars, we want to be healthy, and plus, we don't have a lot of time, so they've got to be easy peel. And I remember it really became a joke on a film set, and to the point where we did a shoot a few months later, a pickup shot for this film, and the only thing the producer gave me was a bag of easy peels. He was like, there you go. I was like, okay, well, I can survive now. It's done. No, this is a great question because, quite frankly, I am quite passionate about food on set because it is really important, and food can absolutely kill your film set. There's nothing more defeating than the pizza coma you get after some shoots where you have to go and start working after lunch and everyone's completely comatose because they've just eaten a load of really greasy pizza that's turned up. So no, a bit big on food, but my favorite snack, it's not necessarily, I've got a snack story, but it's a location sound recordist I work with a lot, Paul Ferry, who I've known for many years in his life before location sound as well as location sound recordist. In his sound bag, he genuinely has an infinite supply of mini cheddars. He has never run out of mini cheddars, and we've even seen him eating mini cheddars mid-take. This is the location sound recorders. This is one of the loudest snacks in the world. Yeah, he's always got a supply, and he's always eat. And that just jumped to my head as soon as you said snacks. The easy peels and mini cheddars.
Uh,
But but in the end, my preferred snacks is definitely get some form of oat and raisin based cookie crisp, no, not crisp, biscuit type thing, where it's just easy to eat. Get it in,
yeah.
get on. I tell all of the assistant directors when I start, do keep an eye on me, because I will just hang out. I'll default to just hanging out, and you need to remind me we're here to get on and work. And I will just want to hang out and chat to the crew, which is why I love when you do films when you all live together and when you get a chance to meet before you shoot. I always recommend to students or whoever, let's just try and do, even if you just sit and have a meal before you shoot, so you can kind of get the meeting and stuff out of the way, so you can really crack on. I think it's one of the reasons why sometimes corporate video I found a little bit strange. When you would walk in on location, you'd meet the people you're working with, shoot for a few hours, and then leave. I like although the longer you do it, you bump into the same people over and over again, so it works out. But I liked it when you get to spend time with people. I think that's again, just drawing back to what I was saying earlier. I think it's the people that really makes a film set for me, and you don't get. I will just hang out, and so I'm better busy, or I'll hang out. So snacks are important because they keep me going without. And on the last feature film I shot, all the cafes were closed at this time when we were shooting, and I really needed a coffee. I really needed to be awake, and the runners, one of them, bless them, went and just made this ridiculously strong filter coffee that kind of just was a chunk of tar.
No,
It was almost solid, but it worked. So I'll class that as a snack.
yeah.
That's a good question. I feel like a producer called Pascal may have put you up to that one with the easy peel oranges.
Yeah, well, I was about to say, it's trust Corey to have a great cinematographer on the show for the first guest, and the first question he asks is about snacks.
It's straight to the important stuff. It's straight.
Yeah, priorities straight, Jack. Priorities straight. It's great. Well, I hope you're happy with that answer, Corey. It is a good
Solid
answer. Yeah.
answer.
It is, but coming from that first short film that you did, Cottonmouth, your career has really sort of expanded since then. You've had a lot. You've definitely worked on a lot more stuff, and it's definitely sort of branched out. I had a little glance at your IMDb a few days ago, and I really saw loads of short films. A couple of episodes of things now and then. How do you feel? How do you get involved with these sort of projects? Does someone reach out to you? Do you reach out to someone? How does that work, do you think?
It's a bit of both. On my the IMDb is quite fun. You can kind of see the trail. That first film, Cottonmouth, had a lead actress, incredibly talented Amy Branwyn, and a few months later she rang me after that film and basically said, I'm on a film in London, everyone's brilliant, their DOP's just dropped out, just say yes, come and shoot this film. And I was in the middle of moving to London, so she knew that anyway. And so she knew it was just an absolutely ridiculous task for me to up sticks and go down. I was in the middle of moving down there with my brother, and so he'd already gone, and I was still working on corporate video and stuff up north before going down. And so I got there, and my second day in London is when I met the director and a load of the crew. And the director, Gab, is one of my best friends. Mark, who's the sound recordist on that, is one of my best friends. That has led to that film. Led to meeting everyone. Dave, the lead actor from that film, I've worked on many things since. Everyone, there's too many people to mention. Within days, I'd met some of my best friends, and that it branched from there. Because the next I shot that film with Gab. The next film he did, I came and worked on as a gaffer, and the producer of both those films Anna Maria, she took me in 2012. She took me to Budapest to shoot one of her feature films. Her assistant on the second film I shared with Gav, which I gaffed, which isn't even on IMDb because we never finished the film, sadly. The production assistant on that, Pierre, he took me to Italy to shoot his short film. Through both of those films, I met people. There's another film which I shot and I also produced, Coda. Jess, who's the lead in that and also directed it and made it happen. It's quite a clever thing. She decided instead of doing a show reel, she just put the same effort into actually just making a film, which I thought was fantastic. So I helped make that happen. And I was recommended to her from one of the actors from that first film I ever did. And then just I did another great short film with Gab, Hideaway, one of the lead actors in that. She went on to make films and hired me for things. And then I've got some stuff. I did lots of stuff for an initiative which is part of Film 4 and the British Sign Language. That I got that through applying. I think I saw that somewhere online on a website somewhere. It's one of the rare times that those websites worked. I'm not a firm believer of them. I think a lot of them make you pay membership and really you don't get a lot out of them because you pay membership to see mainly adverts where it says, work for free but must own a red. You must own a £60,000 camera and work for free, which is a bit mad. So I ignored them.
Yeah.
And so those things came from an advert. And then it really is until 2015 was one of the first times when a young director called Carl Mason got in touch with me to shoot his film Imagine, where he got in touch with me. A lot of the rest of it has been, it snowballed. You get on a film shoot, you say yes to the opportunities. Whilst I was on that second film, shot with the gaffer on Gab's film, the DOP, Alex, I stood next to him when he got a phone call to come on and be the clapper loader on an episode of a BBC TV series, and they said to him, "Do you know anyone who could do some training work?" And he passed me the phone and said, "Just speak to this guy and just say yes." And I did, and I was on that shoot as a trainee, and I got a second day on that, and those are my first ever days on that shoot. And years later on other films, I came across crew I met on that film on things and reconnected, and it really is one of those things that I learned so much on a film set. You learn so much on the film sets. As I tell my students at University of Lincoln, you've got to be getting on film sets. You've got to be making films. There is no better place to learn it. What we give you is an incredibly safe environment to do so. We provide the equipment. We provide lots of tutorage. We provide support. That is a big part. There's like a triangle to get your film made: the equipment, the actors, and the locations. We cover one of those for you, which is a key one and often one of the prices. One of the prices when you're doing low budget, that is. You need to get on and make films, and that's where you meet people. And what you learn at university will be all of these really key components. Getting on a film, connect all those dots, and that's really the way it goes. So it wasn't until I graduated the second time my master's and really got on film sets and really started learning what it was all about that things snowballed. And then it is about taking opportunities. It's about being reliable. It's about turning up, being on time, doing the best job you can, admitting when there's mistakes, learning from those mistakes, making those mistakes work for you, and it snowballs. And and that's how that so Carl saw my website, saw my reel, somewhere he contacted me. I shot that film. We did a few other films after that. I did through some of the actors of the first film. Me and Gav met a musician who's a long-term collaborator now, and did the music for the film How You Look at Me, which is on Amazon Prime right now. We did some music videos with him. On one of those music videos, one of the other actors who was in it for a short period of time, he was making his first film and hired me. It kind of snowballs. Gracie, which is a wonderful short film which I shot with director Matt Morgan, who that was screened at the British Society of Cinematographers new Cinematographers Night back in 2016, which was really exciting, really good fun, really good fun evening. Though I was heavily questioned by members of the BSc on how I teach cinematography, them, which is perfect and wonderful because they have a vested interest in the future of the art, which is what you want. But it was quite the grilling. Quite intimidating, but great fun. But Matt, I met through Hannah, who was one of the lead actors in Hideaway, who then went on to make films, and you get introduced to people, and it just snowballs right up to there's a few episodes of things. They're all web series there, and they're done with those similar crew, and then mainly a lot of things are all kind of interconnected from that very beginning, and it all branches out to the point where and there's two films, and there's a film, one of the latest feature films I made, Drifter, which was shot in Ireland, was I went on that because the films, they shot over 4 blocks, and I did the middle 2, so I did block 2 and 3. The DOP had to pull out the first after the first block because the way they were shooting was just mainly due to funding and different blocks, and also because it's telling a long story over a long period of time, so you needed to wait for the seasons and such. The camera operator, Dan, is one of my friends from university, from my undergraduate, and so we'd worked on corporate stuff together. I'd shot one of his films, Discord, many years before, because many years later, Daryl, who was the lead actor in Discord, now was directing and writing, and had hired Dan to be camera operator, and so they then rung me up, and I went over to Ireland to shoot 2 blocks of that with them out there, which is incredibly good fun. But that's a connection, you know, that's someone and Dan is one of these connections that it's just by chance. It's funny, the amount of times I have conversations with students where they're like, oh, this person's been added to my group, I didn't expect this, or I didn't know that was going to happen, or the unexpected, or things just didn't go to plan. Dan, I can't remember exactly how it happened, but he got put into my website designing group in semester A of level 1 of university. I didn't know who he is. All of a sudden, this person was turning up to a meeting. Jump ahead nearly 10 years, and we're on a film set in Ireland together, and it's just an absolutely fantastic chance thing. That these things happen. You've just got to embrace it and go with them. And also coming here. So then my latest stuff. There's a portrait film which I shot, which is part of a thing for a company called Rural Media. It was part of a Channel 4 initiative, and also a documentary that's still in post-production called Claire. Both of those are with I shot with graduates who were people I taught, who then hired me to shoot for them, which is a huge compliment, I find. I really think. And then lastly, my latest feature film, which is out hopefully next year, which we shot summer last year, Mindset, was with Dr. Mikey Murray, who's the program lead of the film production degree at the University of Lincoln, and we shot a feature film in Lincoln in over about 15 days, which was one of the most hectic times I've ever had. And we also shot it during the summer solstice, so it was really hard whenever there was a night scene because we had about 3 hours to shoot it in the middle of the night. So yeah, that's kind of a rough run through of that. It's just what I really want to highlight to people is the you can find work by applying, you can find work being posted, but in the end, it's the work I did at the very beginning at university and those connections I made, then having an opportunity, but taking it, and then getting something as crazy as being rung up and saying, if you can get to London next weekend, which I was in a lucky position that it wasn't the most unfeasible thing. And I think Amy knew that because we'd been chatting anyway, we'd kept in touch. But just saying yes to that is what led to so much, which has led to me now in this incredible position where not only do I shoot films and make stuff, but I get to teach it, which is a huge privilege. And I love it. And I feel very, very lucky with where my career is at the moment. Looking at it, I think I'd have loved to have done a bit more in the last few years, but took a detour. Started a family with a wife, and I think that's kind of quite. I'm more than delighted with that, and I'll do that certainly again. And just another thing, I can't highlight enough the importance of film festivals as well. There's a short film 3-minute warning. Iqbal, the director of that, I met at a short film festival in Leeds when myself, Gab, and the producer Alex went up with Hideaway, a short film we did a few years before. I met Iqbal there. Iqbal got on with Alex, who's a producer. They started making film together. They had another DOP. The DOP had to pull out. I was within a week's notice, or week or two's notice, was hired on a film. Sometimes you got to say no if it's not right. If it's not the right film, it's not possible. But if you can take those opportunities, I was down in London shooting a film. I think I had 2 weeks, and it's been seen around the world. That, and I'm really proud of my work. So always want to shoot more, but taking the little detour down, working out what the heck it is to be a dad right now. So
oh wow! Well, that's an accomplishment in itself, isn't it?
I think so. I think admire every parent out there now. You have a whole new change in life. It's funny. In a tutorial recently, we were watching a film where it involved a child, and
right.
It was a bit, and a father, and kind of separation between the child. And I asked the students how they all felt, and they're like, "Oh, I liked how it was shot." And I said, for me, that was a horror film. That was a couple of years ago, I'd have been like you. I like that shot, like that scene. Now I see a father who's missing a child. My mindset of the world has changed. That's the worst thing. I will never watch that again. It's too terrifying. Give me some ghost story any day. It's funny how things change like that.
Oh, that's great. So Corey, do you have anything that you want to ask? I'm going to pass it over. I've talked for a while. Corey, do you have anything that you'd like to questions you'd like to pose?
Speaking of your mindset changing, this seems like a good interlude to go into the film of mindset.
Yeah.
You mentioned that filming, you had 3 hours to film. What's it like filming in like a short, sort of rushed time frame, I guess?
Well, we then go back to the importance of snacks. Firstly, it's two things. We were rushed, but we weren't rushed because we knew that's what we planned to do. So we weren't actually rushed because we had a good pre-production. So it was an intense time, and it does mean that things get a bit rushed when you improvise to an extent. But in the end, there was a few things and a few days where locations weren't open to us when we thought, locations that we'd hired, but then you utilize the time differently. We shot some stuff outside that we hadn't initially planned to do, and that gives us some more options. You can then make sure you're planning, so when you get in there, it's go. But that's what pre-production's for. That for me, that it is the most important time. I can't stress it enough. It is the foundation for a successful film. Is getting pre-production right and just planning. So we were rushed, but we knew we were going to be rushed. So you're in the mindset. Great title. You are in that headspace. You are ready to go. I know what I'm doing. I know for 15 days, it's perhaps going to be a little bit less sleep. So I was coming home every night and still waking up in the middle of the night to look after my son and stuff, and help my wife out and things. So it was a crazy time, but I had a fantastic. I love this film because we had students and graduates on it. Callum, my camera operator, is a fantastic graduate of ours. He's shot some incredible things. Lucy, who's my camera assistant, fantastic cinematographer in her own right, on her student pieces, and she picked up the role and just kept us going brilliant. She was just on top of things. She understood the role. She kept the batteries charged. She kept the cards ready. So you aren't rushed because you have a team, and so you're not running around lighting and then worrying about the batteries and then worrying about the shot. I could just focus on lighting. So I couldn't get for whatever reason, we couldn't get a lighting team. So it was just me. But I also had Steve Young, who's one of the technicians at the University of Lincoln. He came on to join in the camera department and helped me as well. So
yeah,
we'd been planning and preparing for that for years because of our workshops. So for him, it was fantastic to actually put into practice what we'd been discussing and tutoring. So in many ways, me and Mike had been talking about this film and doing a film in this way for a long time. So you are rushed, but you know it. You plan for it. You just got to get your head in the right mindset. Be prepared, and I love it. Sometimes I love not being able to think. I love reacting. I love using instinct and just kind of get into this really great headspace. I really think what was great about this is our leads didn't come until a couple of days in. That's just one of the leads. Sorry, the main lead, Ailish, was there the whole time. It meant that we weren't in the super rushed sense that one of our actors could only be there for about 7 days. And so we had a couple of days in which we were shooting important scenes. And don't get me wrong, we gave it as much focus and concentration. But what it meant is it gave us some time to warm into it. We had a pre-production day, a set build day. Sorry, so we were filming a lot in this one house. And so I rigged that house in the key areas with lights, with stands, just stuff ready that I could plug in and go. So that when we moved around, because there's a stairwell, I knew that was going to be used for all these different scenes. So I just lit it and that was ready. So when we moved to the stairwell, it was ready to go. It's a quick transition. I wasn't taking things down, putting things back up. So I did that in a day. So when we started shooting, a lot of these key things were there. So it's about embellishing and really working on many things. And we'd go to one location, then Steve would go back to the other location and pre-rig and pre-set up stuff as well. So it's down to planning. It really is down to planning. That's what it's all about. And then it gives you the freedom to be creative.
Yeah, because you had such good planning and such pre-production, you were able to just go right in it and be assured by what you've done.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. And Mikey and Darren Scales, the producer, they did a phenomenal job of preparing it and planning it and making sure things worked really, really well, and gave us an incredible cast to work with and incredible.
Oh God, yeah.
Additionally, for the first time on this film, I had John Holmes, who's the colorist of the film. He was on set for a lot of it, and that was a key part in this working, because it meant footage was being backed up, and then he was fulfilling the DIT role, the digital imaging technician, and he was doing base color grades there on set. And so because we're all academics as well, part of what we're doing with this film was checking to see how to get the most out of the equipment we have at the university. We shot on the same cameras our students are using. We use a lot of the equipment the students have. That was part of the purpose, to prove that concept, and also for us to learn as much as possible. Really early on, John was helping inform my creative decisions and my decisions around exposure, because we were able to test and push those files on location. So the next day I knew how to start to improve and get more and more out of that camera. And run tests, and ideally you would run those kind of tests before. Granted, you would have a good pre-production, you run all those camera tests. We weren't in the position to do that for whatever reason, so we had to do it live. But it was a fantastic experience and worked really, really well.
That's great, yeah. And going from one big project mindset to another in a different sort of plane of digital media. Now, I don't know exactly when you started your YouTube channel that's now gaining traction faster than I can count. But,
it was.
Well, still, I'd just like to mention that you've really taken it in your stride, and I've watched a couple of videos. I've enjoyed them. Have you ever thought that maybe this is something, because obviously the story and the creation of a YouTuber is a very fine thing, and people are making money off this sort of stuff and this sort of career, and monetization and all of that. But when you started it off, when you started like, you know what, I could make something of this, what exactly was your thinking? What did you want to achieve?
Well, there was a few things. I've always liked the idea of doing it. There's always an element of ego there, of course, and we've had some incredibly successful.
I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say ego.
Oh God, no! When you're dealing with people who work in film, you're dealing with egos. Make sure don't. It's the ones who don't apologise or understand that you need to watch out for. You're dealing with egos for sure. And we've had some fantastic YouTubers come from the university, so I've been inspired by that. But I teach media theory, I teach media industries, especially on my master's module. where you look at this kind of stuff. And I've been meaning to do something like this because I really wanted to understand the other side of YouTube. That's kind of the part of the reason I wanted to get a bit better understanding. But everyone was utilizing these platforms over lockdown this year because of the pandemic, and I didn't have the time. I was trying to work from home, continue teaching, marking. My son wasn't in nursery. My wife was at home. I didn't have additional space to go and start these things. And all of a sudden in the summer, nursery opened back up. I had a little bit more free time because I wasn't teaching and the marking was done. And I suddenly had this time and I thought, I'm just going to give it a go. Start having a go. Plus, a big thing is the way everything's changed. I knew I was going to be doing a lot of talking to camera. To people, to not knowing if there's anyone there. So I wanted to get used to it, and you can see that, and I think it's really helped my teaching this year doing it. I wanted to continue all semester. I even wanted to do, and there's a few videos of my so I tried some live Twitch streams. I really wanted to do live stuff.
I've seen some of that.
Thank you. I wanted to do that, but honestly the time to do so just disappeared quickly, because I'm a firm believer of family. I'm a firm believer of work-life balance. When I leave work, that's when it stops. I come home. It's really important time for my son, who's heading towards his second birthday, so I want to focus on him. So I don't have the time for it. I hope I do again. I hope even if it's down to the summer. It was fun to see. It's one of those things that the more work you put in, the more you get out of it. When I was uploading regularly, when I was posting about it, when I was pushing it, the subscribers was going up, the comments were going up. The moment I stopped, it plateaued, and then it started even dipping, which is fine. For me, that's fantastic. That's phenomenal knowledge. That's great things to know. I understand that. I've now got knowledge. So I love research. I love academic work. That is academic work, even in a practical sense, because I've done research and development. That's what research and development is. I've done something practical. I've learned from it. I now have an idea to better move forward with it. But also the other thing is I wanted a platform to discuss cinematography. There's a lot of videos out there which are all kind of how-to, and they're all contradictory, but I wanted to discuss in more depth. I never got round to it. I never really found the time. The thing is, the editing just takes ages. And I've got a live switcher, so that was to take the edge off the editing, because I thought I could live switch between cameras and do different things, but still the editing was what really got in the way, because I also decided I madly decided to do just after our students finished in the summer, there's lots of them going into a whole new world trying to look for work during one of the most difficult times, and a lot of the questions around freelance came up, and so I decided I was going to launch every single day a new freelance survival video. That shattered me. Launching 5 videos in a row, or 6 videos in a row was shattering. So I'd love to do more. I hope to do more. I don't think Twitch streaming is for me. I think I found that a little bit. I enjoyed it, but it was hard to work out exactly what my purpose was.
Yeah, it's a huge platform as well, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm not.
It's just massive now.
I'm not interested in talking into those ears and doing the weird sounds, and I'm not good at. I mean, if I start playing computer games, that's game over. I will do nothing else. I've got quite an obsessive nature, and I need to stay away from computer games now.
No, I know.
So, or I'll just get, if there's another excuse to play and it's that other people watch and comment and that's it over. That's what I'll be doing.
Oh dear. Well, people make money off that type of thing. I know loads of people, absolutely loads, who just stream games on Twitch. There's market millions strong of that sort of thing.
I needed it to exist 15 years ago, and it would have been that's what I'd have done.
Okay. Oh, that's wonderful. Corey?
So you mentioned the fact that obviously we're in a pandemic now and stuff like that. What's it like? You mentioned it earlier. What's it like teaching now, but you're not necessarily face to face in lectures, and you kind of can't get that feedback? You can't see your pupils and that sort of thing.
It's interesting. It's me and a few of my colleagues have been trialing using various different software. Some that's now very common in what we're teaching for years. like, I think 2017 is the first time I used some of the software when me and some of my colleagues were starting to trial it. And like a lot of things in the pandemic, what it's done is it's accelerated things that were naturally going to happen. When you look at things to do with the environment, the airlines, and all sorts, it's accelerated where things would have headed. It's accelerated too fast in many areas, but it's what's happened. So for me, I find it really empowering, some of it. And I'm talking, remove the horrors of the virus aside, I'm just talking about the actual act of teaching at this time, because it can be really tough and really stressful, and the worst thing is the second guessing, the constant second guessing, because you're dealing with something that can often not reveal itself for 2 weeks and stuff. It's that second guessing going around my head. I just have to place it on one side. But teaching with all of these new digital tools becoming a firm accepted part of everything, creating, I think I think I and the team I work with, Zeta Spirecki is the other cinematography tutor, and Steve Young, our technician. I think we were producing some of the best we've ever done. We've got a fantastic cinematography module that's got incredible content curated from online, lots of workshops, masterclasses, brought in from different areas, as well as some great digitized set readings. But also we're creating our own content instead of workshops where where students will look at the camera and view it from a distance, and perhaps not everyone having a go. Now everyone can see some really fine, detailed, bespoke video tutorials created by the tutors on the cameras and specific equipment. And I think it's really helping them grasp quickly how to use this equipment and get the best out of it. And they can also watch it back when they're on set. Combine that with face-to-face teaching on that module particularly, and additional content. We're creating additional lectures, stuff that we wouldn't normally have time for because you usually have to timetable it to deliver it. I recorded loads of stuff in the summer ready to be released over the next few weeks when I knew it would need to be. I think it's absolutely been brilliant. I think some of the stuff with lectures has been absolutely brilliant as well. Done over online. I think it's been really accessible for some people. Even things like team meetings can be really great over online. I miss though massively seeing people. I miss conversations like ours right now happening kind of fluidly and organically in corridors and stuff. The building is quiet. It's like the summer never ended, but the weather carried on. Didn't get the memo. The sun went down and it got cold. But the toughest thing is when you're doing small group stuff. Lectures to seeing no one's fine, because I'm used to presenting in a room, and actually in some ways it's quite nice, because sometimes when you're in a lecture theatre and you look up and there's some people just laughing at their laptop screen, it can be really off-putting, and it can be an innocent thing, but it really throw me. So presenting a lecture to no one in essence is actually fine. It's when you get to the seminars and the small stuff, it's when you're with a group of 8 to 10 and no one has a camera on, no one has an image, you just have a wall of initials and you have no idea if the other people are responding. And especially if it's a session like a seminar, which is a debate and a discussion, it isn't a lecture. I'm not there to talk for an hour more. I'm here to facilitate a discussion, and if no one's interacting, it's really hard, and you can't try and get in someone's eye line or really point and see someone does want to say something but they're not too sure, so you can kind of perhaps ask them or find another way to kind of tease it out. You're lost. That's where I struggle. That's where I'm lost.
All your natural teaching instincts are just thrown out the window.
Exactly.
Because you've lost all your bearings almost.
That's it. And you basically just feel like you're doing a continuous comedy routine in which no joke is funny. That's the way I kind of describe it.
Now that is funny.
Yeah. But in the end, there's loads of positives. I'm really positive for the future. I think I don't think we'll replace face-to-face, but I think we'll really enhance it with a lot of these new digital tools. And I think we could be onto a real winner. I genuinely do.
Yeah. Well, something we like to do, especially on this show, Corey, as I'm sure you're aware, often at the end of each episode, we'll propose a weekly rec to the listener for will recommend a film or a song from a film or even a good episode of a TV show or anything that a great piece of cinema for them to watch. Now, seeing as you're our first honoured guest here on the Real Show, Jack, I'd like to propose: do you have a weekly rec for the listener?
I do. Now,
Right, okay.
It might require some hunting.
Right.
And it's a bit of an obscure one. And I don't, maybe you've seen it. I don't remember how I ended up seeing it, but it's a very, very I think it's a hilarious, interesting film, and it serves two purposes. Not only is it a really enjoyable, interesting film, but it genuinely teaches you what it's like to be on a film set and shows you the real aspect. It's a film called Living in Oblivion.
Living in Oblivion.
Yeah, it's a 1995 film, Living in Oblivion, and it stars Steve Buscemi as a director, and it's basically shot on the film set, showing what happens. It's hilarious. The cinematographer Wolf is one of my favorite characters of all time. I think it's this wonderful reflection of film sets, to the point where he's got a beret, he has an eye patch at some point, and it's just got it's really got some fantastic stuff. And I think it's got Peter Dinklage in, who you know from Game of Thrones. I think it's one of the first films he was in. It's a really obscure one. It's the first thing that popped in my head when you guys said that you wanted me to give a recommendation, and I do not know why this popped into my head, but it genuinely is genius. I don't know if I'm going to say the director's surname right, but it's Tom DiCilio, and it's just a work of genius. But it is, I haven't thought about it for years, and I genuinely think I need to find a way to get either a copy or a digital copy, because it should be set reading or set viewing for anyone interested in working in a film set. It's a fantastic insight, but it's genuinely a hilarious film and well worth a look. And it teaches you. It also covers a lot of what I've spoken about here. It shows the ways lower position crew are getting together, discussing their own film projects they're going to go off and do. It shows you everything. It talks, set actor issues, set issues, the dynamics on set. It really is a fantastic educational tool, but hilarious and fun as well.
Oh, that's wonderful, and that's the beauty of the weekly rec. That sometimes things do come from your head and have no relation, but when you think about it, they do relate, and they often relate more than you've thought to what you've been speaking about. That's the beauty of it, really. But another thing we like to do is we like to give it this is the Real Show. We like to give it a real rating, don't we, Corey? So we do indeed. So I'll ask you, Jack Shelbourn, for out of 10, what is your real rating for Living in Oblivion?
Well, I mean, it has a real impact on me. I think for if I was just going on Dermot Mulroney's portrayal of cinematographer Wolf, it would be a 10. But I'm going to be a bit more realistic. I'm going especially because it's a little bit hard to find. I think, but still, I think it's fantastic. I'm going to give it an 8. I'm going to give it an 8.
8, solid.
Yeah, it is solid. It is genuinely solid. Although my problem is I probably couldn't find anything to fault with it other than it's hard to find, so it should be a 10. But I'm gonna leave it with an 8 anyway, because we've got to leave. There's got to be room to grow. There's got to be room to go.
Yeah. Well, that's great. That's perfect.
Thank you, guys. I really appreciate it.
That's a great film to end off on here on this particularly special episode of The Real Show. And we'll play us out from the Breakfast Club, which I understand is a favourite film of yours, Jack. We will use "Don't You Forget About Me" from Simple Minds. Enjoy. Bye, folks.
Bye.
Bye.
And cut the recording, Corey.
Doing that.